If you are a beginner card maker, I have a card for you. Hi, I'm Jamie Pate, and welcome to this video where I'm going to share with you how to make a card from start to finish with beautiful layers that include stenciling and die cuts and pre-die cuts, as well as stamping. So let's get started. So let's talk about supplies for just a second. I'm going to take Scrapbook.com stencils. Everything is linked below, including these ink blender tools, of course, some ink, and stamps, and sentiment dies, and we're going to create this card from the bottom up. Okay, to start, we're going to craft our stenciled background. And so I've grabbed these flat cards from Scrapbook.com. They're a great size. They're about 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. It's just your classic card front size. And I'm going to first start with the honeycomb stencil. And we're going to grab the tattered distress oxide ink pad. I'm just going to add a little bit here to the ink blending tool. And I'm going to come up here at the top a little bit, to start a little heavy-handed. And again, the wonderful thing about paper is there are 2 sides. So if you make a mistake, you can always turn it over and start again. So don't be afraid to experiment. Don't be afraid to make a mistake. This needs to be fun and creative, and just, if you have never done this before, just relax and enjoy the process. You might even make it very much yours instead of exactly like what I'm going to show you today. But this is a great jumping off place. If you're not super comfortable with some of your tools, follow along exactly as I'm sharing with you here, and then maybe challenge yourself to bring another idea into the card and just have fun. So once I have created this base here with the tattered rose on this background, I'm going to lift it up. I've kind of just come in here from this top left side, and I finished here on the bottom right side. It's just one of the ways I go about adding stenciling to a background. Now, this is a fun little boxes stencil. I'm going to come in here with this tea dye distress oxide. And you can see here, I just have a little bit of detail up here on this top left, a little bit here, and a little bit here. We're going to do the same thing as well. Again, you can kind of go in as heavy as you want or as light as you want. Maybe you really want this color to just pop. So go in a little bit heavier, but kind of do a little bit of contrast, what I call contrast stenciling, where you kind of go in maybe some of the blank spaces from the previous stencil that you have already added a design with. So let's see what that looks like. See what I mean there? So again, you have 3 spaces, and it just creates a great backdrop now for the rest of our elements. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is take our card front and trim about 1/4 inch from the long edge, 1/4 inch from the short edge. And you'll see why we're doing this in one moment. Now, one of the tricks I like to do is distress my edges. I just grab a 6-inch metal ruler and I just come along the edges until they kind of pull up a little bit. Now, you can get pretty distressed on this, and you can even sometimes tear your cardstock. It just depends on what level of distress you're looking for. I just like to kind of pull up those edges a little bit. And so I just grab my ruler and just go at it. And so that's what we're doing here. This last side, and then I think we're good to go. I have sitting here the Boho Smooth Cardstock, beautiful collection of muted tones. I want to grab one of these as now what's going to be basically my card mat. So we're going to make sure that the card front is trimmed down enough so you can get an idea of the color behind it. It adds just great depth. It pops the colors that are on the stencil as well. And I'm going to grab this permanent tape runner by Scrapbook.com and apply some adhesive on my edges and just align that as centered as I can. And if I feel the need, I'll just kind of go back through and just make sure these edges are distressed and pulled up And it's really no big rules on this at all. It's just your personal preference. But I do like how it also brings a little bit of texture to our card front. Okay, for our next layer in our card, it's going to be this die cut, and it's a pre-die cut piece from Simple Stories Journal Bits. And I just take any kind of embellishment from any kind of scrapbook source, and I will find a way to use it on a card surface. Okay, so I've grabbed this piece here, and just going to kind of eyeball where I want to place it. But I'm going to use the 1/4-inch foam tape. I'm just going to cut a strip off of here. This is a Scrapbook.com item as well. One of my favorite adhesives to use. Just going to add a strip to the back and flip that over and just kind of eyeball it here close to the edge. And that's all you need to do to add that element into our card. All right, for our next layer, I've also grabbed the Boho Smooth cardstock yet again, and I've already pre-cut this from the nested circle dies from Scrapbook.com. It's about a 2-inch circle, and it's going to hang out right about here, but we're also going to add another strip of the 1/4-inch adhesive foam tape to the back of it, and just pop that up. Now, the thing I like about my elements is I like them all to kind of touch. So that's what this is going to do. This is going to, or overlap would be another term. This is going to kind of overlap here over on this other pre-die cut piece from Simple Stories. And now we're going to create a space for our sentiment. All right, now it's time to start our sentiment. One of my most favorite word dies are these thank you dies, and they obviously come with thank yous, but they also come with this sweet hello. I've already pre-cut the hello from the Boho cardstock, and that's sweet. It is one of my all-time favorite card sentiments. And again, we're going to layer this, but I'm going to use the smart glue this time. And I'm a fan of my embellishments, my layering elements sort of floating, if you will. So I don't like to adhere and add adhesive or glue or what have you to the entire back of whatever I am layering on my project. So you're going to see here, I'm just adding a bit of glue kind of right through the middle, if you will. And as I flip it over, what I say before, I like everything to sort of connect and to overlap and to touch a little bit. So that's exactly what's going to happen here. This glue is so strong though, this is really all you need. I've just had such beautiful results with this craft glue. And that's how the hello is going to sit on our card front. Okay, for our final layer, I have the word Fetty Oh So Happy. They're basically word strips, word phrases. And boy, you are going to find using these on so many different projects. I have already pre-cut a piece of scrap paper to make where we're going to put our final sentiment. I'm going to grab the You're My Favorite from up here. It gets placed here. I prefer to kind of have these smaller elements right in the center of a stamp block. I just have a little more balance. A great firm foundation. I'm using the Tea Dye Distress Oxide once again. And I'm going to stamp that right here in the middle. Then before I put it on the card, I'm going to trim it down just a tad more. And I want to show you one other trick that I enjoy utilizing. Okay, so this is just a personal preference, how close to the sentiment you want to have your paper trimmed. And I like to make mine just pretty tight, if you will. So here's another thing I like to do to add just a little bit more color. As I remember earlier when we stenciled our background, I like to take the residual ink that's on the ink blending tool, just go around the edges, and it's almost going to look like colored cardstock, but it won't be completely, but it definitely adds a little bit of color, a little bit of dimension from where it's going to be sitting here on our card. Okay, so just like all our other elements, I want this to pop up on the page. I'm just going to grab a little piece of the 1/4-inch foam adhesive and put that right on the back. If I feel it's a little too big, you can just trim it a little bit. Yeah, we got a little bit showing, so we're just going to trim that out with our scissors. And perfect. Pull off the backer paper, pop it right underneath the hello. And again, I'm going to overlap it there a little bit with the hello. All right, our final step is to take this scored A2 size card from Scrapbook.com, fold that in half. I'm going to use the permanent tape roller and just add some adhesive to all the edges. And then you're going to pop that right there on your card base. And your card is now going to be ready to keep, which I will often do. Gotta admit it. Sometimes, though, somebody needs to hear that they are your favorite. And this is a perfect way to do that with this card.